This hurricane season has been a doozy, and there are big implications to what this means for homeowners in the state of Florida. Now, we're going to want to watch this video because first we had Helene, now we have Milton, and these are causing huge problems, especially when it comes to storm surge and flood. And if you own a home that is affected by this, or if you're considering buying a home that's affected by this, you're going to want to pay attention to the information in this video. Now, if you already own a home, you're probably familiar with the FEMA 50-50 rule. And essentially what this means, if you have experienced major loss or there's any kind of major remodel on your property, it cannot exceed 50% of the assessed value of the building, of the improvement. And this is a problem where a lot of people get confused because they say, hey, my home is worth $700,000, so that means that I can have $350,000 worth of improvements before I have to bring them up to the current flood regulations and get them above base flood level. Now, here's the deal. Because it's based on the structure only, the building only, if the home was built in 1970, the lot, the real estate might be worth a lot. But the home, the structure, has a diminished value over time, and so that may not have as much value. So that $700,000 home, they may say that structure is only worth $300,000, and so you only have a $150,000 threshold before FEMA comes in and requires you to build up to, again, base flood elevation, so that we don't have this continue to be a recurring problem. Now, one of the great things about the FEMA rule is that there's no cumulative pain that's caused because they take each individual disaster as its own unique storm. And that's how the calculation is based. So Hurricane Ian came through in 2022. There were a lot of properties that did flood with the storm surge that came in at that point. And so that was its own event. And let's say in the same example, the property, the home is worth $300,000. You could have gone up to $150,000 of renovations without exceeding that 50-50 threshold, and then, you build it back. Well, 2 years forward, and then Helene causes issues, then we have Milton that causes issues, and so if with FEMA, they're their own storm, so you can have another $150,000 to do any potential remodel. What gets a little bit interesting is that the local counties, the local municipalities may have stricter regulations around the FEMA 50-50 rule. This is now here locally, so I'm in Southwest Florida, and Lee County has a 5-year cumulative total to get to the 50%. Collier County, which is where Naples is located, has a 10-year rule to get to the cumulative 50% rule. And so this FEMA 50% rule is a bigger problem when you start to cumulatively add up these damages. So now, all of a sudden, somebody who had storm damage in Hurricane Ian, if we have to add that to the damage caused by Helene and Milton, now they could potentially be over that FEMA 50% threshold. That is obviously a major issue for a lot of people. They will be forced into elevating their homes, bringing them up to the current flood regulations, and that is going to cause a significant problem, significant financial hardship for many people in the state of Florida. How is this going to impact real estate? We've seen something happen, especially during this hurricane season. In the past, what we've seen is we've seen people who have a very short-term memory when it comes to storms, right? Storms happen, hurricanes happen, you've got warning for them, you can prepare for them, etc. Flooding via storm surge is one thing that becomes a real challenge because you can't escape that, right? You can't put shutters up and escape the water rising. You can't escape it. And so what we're starting to see is we're starting to see a lot of the locals say, hey, listen, I'm fed up with this. I want to move more inland and get out of the floodplain. We're starting to see people from other areas looking at real estate saying, hey, I just don't want to be in a floodplain. And so it's just obvious to me what happens in those scenarios is that there's got to be a scenario where prices come down because the demand is down for that potential product. If we have a scenario where the supply is going to raise significantly, where there's people who are fed up and done with being in those low-lying areas that are prone to flood, so the supply is up and the demand is down because people don't want that product anymore, simple economics would tell us that the pricing will go down for that. Now, those areas tend to be more desirable. They're closer to the beaches. They could be on the islands. These are things historically that people have wanted, and I believe that people will continue to want, but probably only as short-term vacation places, right? Like nobody wants that to be their primary residence if that is going to be the risk of flooding out in the future. So let me know, how do you think this impacts your decisions around real estate? Would you buy in a flood zone? Would you not? Leave a comment below. And as always, if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, that means the world to us. Stay safe out there and have a blessed day. Thank you.